The Leafs reunite at the NHL All-Star Draft. How does Auston Matthews' squad stack up to the other ones? We'll discuss that and more, including a big trade in the NHL on this edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, your things for all things Leafs. I'm your host, David Morassutti from Sportsnet. As always, the Locked On Leafs podcast is a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast, so make sure you subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from and catch us up on YouTube each and every day, Locked On Leafs. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your best bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. And as you know, Mike has been off this week. I believe he is in Jamaica. He was in Jamaica as we're recording this, so he is enjoying that fine Caribbean sun. But don't worry, I have joining me again this week because he had so much fun the other day. He's like, I will come back. And I said, well, we're probably going to be breaking down this All-Star Draft. And James from Offside Hockey Talk could not wait to come back, and I'm glad that he is back. James, how are you doing, sir?
I'm not doing too shabby, man. We got the draft in the books. We got some funny stories out of it, some moments, shall we say. So, yeah, no, I'm ready to rock and roll, man, and glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
And obviously, this is the first time since 2015 that the NHL All-Star Game has brought back the draft. Obviously, before we just had divisions for the team, so they would just pick players from the division and things like that. Now we actually have teams. Players were trying to strategize a little bit. There was a lot going on with this event. But I hate to bring up a negative right off the hop, but I feel like I have to. That might have been one of the tougher live events I've ever had to follow, because I couldn't really understand what was going on half the time, because everybody had their own mics and half the guys didn't realize that their mics were hot and we could hear them the entire time.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, it's a live event, I guess, right? So anything can happen on live TV, as they say. So unfortunately, the audio wasn't the greatest, and they had to use the other mics to kind of amplify some voices, and then some things that were picked up that maybe shouldn't have been picked up. But hey, it is what it is. You're trying to add some intrigue and fun and do a different wrinkle here. I'm glad the draft is back. It's fun. It's creative. I wish guys would go out of their comfort zones a little more with their selections. But you get what you get. Guys are comfortable with who they know and who they play with or came up the ranks with, so to speak. So yeah, other than the audio stuff, man, it was pretty fun.
But I felt the celebrities added a nice little appeal. I thought Justin Bieber was a little more laid back. I was expecting a little bit more, but he was like sitting half the time. You got Michael Bublé here. He's strategizing with the Canucks guys. Will Arnett did not disappoint. He was
always a beauty.
Always a beauty there. Also, can we just shout out Will Arnett? Even though he is with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, he's still repping those Leafs with the Leaf hat there. That's a guy who knows where his true allegiances align.
He was doing a little recruiting. Come on now.
Exactly. And so I think, yeah, that was cool. Tate McRae, I thought she handled it quite well too. Yeah. I know that she's probably maybe not on the same level in terms of she's a Calgary Flames fan. Unfortunately, there were no Calgary Flames there at this draft. So I was very unfortunate for her. I know that was a tough one there, but she obviously represented her team very well. And so, yeah, I mean, it was interesting. What did you make of them not having that last player get picked and how they handled that whole the final four selection there?
Well, they kind of still did have a last player being picked in Bjorkstrand. He was the last one to open an envelope. But, I mean, I like what they did. They didn't have the awkward moment where Phil Kessel had his, infamous time there sitting in the chair and looking forward like he was like, oh, this sucks. I don't know, man. That kind of adds to it. Who's going to be the last guy? you could add a wrinkle to it where it could be, the last guy picked gets something special or their team gets an advantage, something along that line. But the way they handled it this year was great. Everybody got an envelope. You brought out Davey Keon, the Timbit kids. It all added to the whole allure of everything going on. So I wasn't mad at it, man. Again, if you're mad at this in any shape or form, or say this is garbage or watered down, you're just mad at fun. Like, this is supposed to be some fun. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing here too. Like, yeah, we can bring up the audio issues and things like that, but still a very fun evening. Right after they did the draft, they honored they had 5 players from the famous 1967 Leafs team there. Dave Keon, like, literally, I was watching this on TV and my mother's like, "Oh my God, Dave Keon!" Like, and surprised how old he was. I'm like, oh, Mom, it's been a really long time since these guys played hockey. Like,
well, it just made Toronto the butt end of the jokes again, though, because obviously we're honoring the 1967 team. It's like, wow, okay, thank you for reminding us, but also thank you for making those pictures and visuals and videos in color.
Oh, that was cool. I think technology has improved just a little bit there, where I used to watch some of those like moments in black and white. So I thought it was well done. It was cool that they did it on the ice. You could get fans in the arena and it was a part of the event. It didn't feel separate, right? I know in past years they were doing it in like a lounge. I think the last one they did in like a lounge, or they've done them in like some like it was done in like a event style. This felt like more like a part of the actual event, because right after, I mean, as we know, the PWHL is getting their showcase done right after, and thought I would bring this up now. The PWHL announced that game between Toronto and Montreal at Scotiabank Arena has been sold out. So if you're looking to get a ticket to this game at Scotiabank Arena, you are going to have to go and look elsewhere to get a ticket, because there are no tickets available. Now, sometimes that changes. Sometimes events like this, they hold back tickets, if players want to bring family, stakeholders involved and things like that. So maybe tickets will come about. But as of right now, the public sale has no tickets available. And this will be the largest game. Obviously, it's going to be a record setting for a PWHL game, after I think it was 13,000 in Minnesota. So this is a pretty big night for the ladies, a big day for the ladies as well.
Listen, it's going to keep growing, and I'm excited to finally see it take off the way that it should have many years ago, with whatever iteration you want to go with. But this one right here, it's got the backing of the NHL. The NHL teams are involved, Sportsnet's in on it, TSN's in on it. Everybody's in on this one here. And there just seems to be more access, more availability to see the games and be a part of each of the teams. The only thing that I didn't like about this season, and I'm not trying to bring any negative to it, because it's amazing they did the sellout. I wanted logos and I wanted team names to be like entrenched and attached from day one. Because right now it's the Toronto team, the Montreal team, the Minnesota team. I wanted, the Toronto Torch or the Toronto Furies or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just to be excited about that, to kind of like root yourself in. Now, next year, when they announce the names and stuff, you kind of got to get into the New Jersey again and all the different schemes. Hopefully the colors stay the same. But this is taking off, and it's absolutely awesome. And I know my daughter, she's 11 years old. She absolutely is thrilled to see all of it go on. And, I get to talk. I've talked to Soroya Tinker a couple of times. She's thrilled with everything that's going on. She's now a part of the PWHL herself. And then you just look down the list. Carly Jackson here from Amherst, Nova Scotia, part of the Toronto team. She's fired up. You see all the fun videos. It just seems like it's being done right, which is what this league needs, and needs to be in front of as many people as possible. And you look what it's generated. A sellout at the Scotiabank Arena. Toronto and Montreal. Let's build the rivalry.
Exactly, right? And you want to build rivalries, then yeah. I mean, when it comes to the names of the teams, I wish they had that. But what I like is it's not allowing this the league is pushing forward, and they're getting some good momentum, right now. And I think that's what's important for them is that this is an event that this is a season where they're trying to build and kind of test things, see where things lie. But yeah, I really want to see. I hope that they're putting a big push on getting jerseys, getting logos, and all that stuff because you want to get fans really involved and really invest in this league. And like how many people right now are going to go out and buy a PWHL jersey? Probably some that want that first jersey. We probably have some that are like, you know what? I'm going to hold back until, I'm able to get a one with the actual logo or, things like that. That's something I think that's important.
The merch, yeah. The real merch basically is what it'll call it, right? Because right now I'd say launch merch is what it is.
Yeah.
It's we're here merch.
Exactly. That's pretty much what it is. And there was also technically merch given out. Every player got a jersey, but it was a jersey of the team that they're going to be playing for this weekend at the NHL All-Star Game. We'll go through the players. Who did Auston Matthews end up picking? Did he make the right selections? And does his team have a chance to win it all? We'll discuss that and more here on the Locked On These podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book and also a partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. And if you're looking to bet here on NHL All-Star Weekend, you can bet on which team is going to win it all, who's going to score the most goals, who's going to win All-Star MVP, and who is going to win some of these NHL skills competition happening. You can all do that all at FanDuel. And new customers who join today, you'll get $200 in bonus bets if you bet. If your first bet of $5 or more wins, just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back to the Locked On These podcasts. It's your team every day. David Morassutti here. Joining with me is James from Offside Hockey Talk. He is taking over for Mike now. Mike should be back on Monday. So for those of you who are wondering where Mike is, he is coming back. I appreciate James. And I know, James, you've gotten some rave reviews for your appearances, so I'm glad that the people have. You're a regular here now. You're not just some. You've been here enough. People know who you are, and I'm glad to that you have joined us here.
Appreciate it. No, I appreciate being on. It's fun, and everybody. I cannot hold a candle to the two men who do the show on a regular basis. Just lucky enough to fill in and have some fun. So I enjoy it every time.
Yep. And so we now know who is going to be with Auston Matthews. We got our answer. I put this question out the other day. Does Auston Matthews go in one direction where he doesn't go with his teammates with the early picks? Does he go and try to spice things up a little bit? Well, guess what? He went the route that we kind of all expected. I think maybe his co-captains had a little bit of a sway in who was picked as well. Justin Bieber and Morgan Riley. So let's bring up the rosters. Let's see who Auston Matthews is actually going to be playing with this weekend. So on Team Matthews, we have Auston Matthews, Morgan Riley. They were co-captains. William Nylander was that first pick. Then we had Mitch Marner. And it was funny. Matthews Mitch was getting a little, he was kind of saying if he didn't get picked, he was going to be a little salty about it. So Mitch Marner gets picked. Jake Onger was the first goalie taken. You have Clayton Keller, Matthew Barzal, Igor Shesterkin, Philip Forsberg, Alex DeBrincat, and Vincent Trocheck. So what do you think of this team? Does this look like a winning team to you?
It does look like a winning team. I mean, I know Shesterkin's not having the best season this year, but I think he's going to be the goaltender around here. Jake Oettinger, you can't go wrong with. You got Mo on there, obviously. But I look at this team and I say, man, there's a lot of buddies to Auston Matthews. Hello, Clayton Keller, the connection there down in Arizona. Alex DeBrincat. So, I mean, so it looks like he was reaching back and finding who he wanted. But Morgan Riley with the, shall we say, the Berkey-esque kind of comment on Overdrive today saying, hey, we're going to try to pull a Sedin move here and try to be able to get both Maple Leaf guys in Nylander and Marner. They were hoping to make some sort of splashy deal.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? They got both guys they wanted. Bang, bang, Nylander and Marner. And Marner, if you're being salty over the fact that Matthews didn't pick you before Nylander, it's all in good fun. You know where you were going. You were going to Matthews' team, but this team here is built to win. I'd like to see Jay Beebs with some wheels on and running around the ice a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I think when you look at how this weekend is also geared towards fans, you have to kind of think about that in a way when you're making these teams. So people might be like, oh, why exactly didn't Auston Matthews go out and get a Nikita Kucherov, right? Well, guess what? Nikita Kucherov went first overall, so that wasn't going to happen anyways. But like things like that, like why didn't he go in one direction? They are thinking about the fans in this case as well. So we're just going to quickly look at a couple of all the other teams real quick here. We got Team Hughes, which was led by Captain Quinn and Jack Hughes. Jack is not playing, and also Michael Bublé. He had a very interesting night that maybe the NHL is not too thrilled with, but I mean it was all done in good fun and stride, I guess. You have Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson, Nikita Kucherov, Thatcher Demko, Kyle Connor, Brady Tkachuk, Jesper Bratt, Cam Talbot, Brock Besser, JT Miller, and Frank Vetrano. I mean, it's the All-Star game. You're not going to say that it's not a good team, but I thought it was a pretty solid squad. I think them landing the first pick and getting Kucherov was a pretty solid. Obviously, I think you get Demko there. You get the Vancouver connections.
It's a Vancouver light right there. I mean, they basically got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Vancouver. The only one they didn't get was the new one, which was Elias Lindholm. So,
yeah, no, exactly. And so, very interesting how that all handled. We will now look next at the Nathan McKinnon's team, Team McKinnon, led obviously with co-captain Cale Makar and Tate McRae. Sidney Crosby, I knew that pick was going to happen because McKinnon's connection with Crosby.
Harbor connection, baby. Let's go.
Harbor connection. If Brad Marchand was there, I'm going to assume Brad Marchand would have been picked if he was there too. Then you have Alexander Georgiev, Kirill Kaprizov, Sebastian Aho, Tom Wilson, Jeremy Swayman, Travis Konechny, Elias Lindholm. I think he was twice. I think the other graphic had him on too. Elias Lindholm is on on McKinnon's team. He's not on the other team. And Oliver Bjorkstrand. So that's it's a pretty solid squad. I know that they wanted to go with a little bit of balance of two-way play, as we heard which I'm like, really, All-Star game? You're thinking about scoring goals. You're thinking about playing defense, especially 3-on-3. And then finally, we have Team McDavid with noted Leafs fan Will Arnett and Leon Draisaitl as the co-captains. Connor Hellebuyck was their first pick. They're like that one fantasy guy in fantasy hockey that has to get that goalie right away. So Connor Hellebuyck, David Pastrnak, Rasmus Dahlin, Robert Thomas, Sam Reinhart, Sergei Bobrovsky, Boone Jenner, Nick Suzuki, and Tomas Hertl. Pretty solid squad, actually. This is one that, like, you get two Vezina Trophy candidate goaltenders there. You get some good two-way play. Obviously, you get Pastrnak. When you have McDavid, though, I mean, McDavid is the one.
And Draisaitl. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so it's a pretty. If there's a team, honestly, though, if I had to hang my hat on a team this weekend, it's probably going to be Team McDavid.
Oh, come on, Team Matthews, baby, let's go.
I think Team Matthews, they know that they gotta put themselves in the best position to be in the finals. So I am liking these squads, though. I don't think there was any real controversy with any of the picks.
No,
really.
I mean, they're pretty well balanced across the board. I mean, everybody's got scorers, everybody's got guys that can defend a little bit. I think the Team Matthews, to be honest with you, has more offense than most of the other teams, other than obviously Team McDavid. I think that'll be McDavid versus Matthews in the final will be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's really going to be it, right? You will kind of want to get those top end matchups right there, and so I do think it's going to be fun to watch those games. And I'm also curious why there weren't any trades. I would have liked to have seen a trade. Spice things up. We had a trade. I think we had a trade when when Taves was doing
Captain Serious.
Captain Serious did a trade. And so
how fun would it have been for the Hughes brothers with Quinn Hughes and all the Vancouver Canucks to make a trade with Team McKinnon to get Elias Lindholm over there where he was just traded in real life? How much would that be art imitating life right there? Allow that to be a thing. Hey, we want to trade for our new teammate. This is what we're going to do. Putting a package together, for future round picks or something. Just something fun. Do it. You should have done it. I would have loved that. I would have
loved it. Yeah, just even if one trade was kind of orchestrated, just give us a little spiciness there. That's why I felt like something like that was missing. Just to make things, or even like some sort of surprise. Like there wasn't really that wow factor. It was a decent. I like that the draft is there. I just wish we had gone a little more drama out of it. Let's just say
that would have been fun. I mean, they will make it better as they go along. I don't think this is going away because I generate a lot of interest.
I think if you take it away again, people are going to be a little unhappy. Like you gotta stick with it. You got to stick with it and just improve the format. I didn't mind.
What you can do though, like why wouldn't? Here's the thing you could have done. You could have done like a draft lottery where the ping pong balls all come up and you do all that stuff where all the guys are standing there and you watch who gets the first overall pick and you do that and you break it down and maybe get the last GM's reaction because he's going to be fourth or whatever. It's fun. Just do that to add the real life element to the fun of the All-Star Game.
Yeah, just a way to add a little bit of fun there. But there was some fun that happened before the All-Star Game. And it wasn't Leaf related, but there are potential Leaf connections that could apply there. We had a trade go down. It looks like the Vancouver Canucks just want to make themselves a story heading into the All-Star break. We're going to discuss that big trade. And again, does that mean potentially anything coming about it on the Leafs end? We'll talk about that here next on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Welcome back to the Locked On Leafs podcast, your team every day. David Morassutti here with my good friend James from Offside Hockey Talk. And yeah, I think Jim Rutherford, he does a really good job of teasing things because he was on overdrive a few hours and he kind of mentioned that, we might pull off a trade before the All-Star game even happens. Well, it looks like that trade was pretty much ready to go. They just needed a couple of final send-offs here. And Elias Lindholm is no longer with the Calgary Flames. So the Flames have no representatives at the NHL All-Star Game. That's because they traded him over to the Vancouver Canucks, a pretty sizable deal when you think about him being a unrestricted free, a rental at this stage right now until Vancouver decides maybe they want to re-sign him. But you have Lindholm going to the Flames. The big piece, obviously, going from the Canucks. Sorry, Lindholm going to the Canucks from the Flames. The big piece going to the Flames is Andrei Kuzmenko, who's obviously having a down year this year, but he's a player that isn't viewed as a rental. He has 1 year left on his deal. And then, obviously, Vancouver sent a first-round pick, a conditional fourth-round pick, which could become a third-round pick if the Canucks make it to the Western Conference Final. And prospects Hunter Bershowitz and Yoni Yermo. So we got two prospects, one viewed that's kind of having a really good year in the OHL. You have a first-round pick plus a roster player, Elias Lindholm. And, of course, many are wondering why this trade happened now. Craig Conroy basically said, I got the price I wanted. I made the deal. And I think he did quite well for a player that clearly they didn't view sticking around. And if you hear some of Elias Lindholm's comments, including him saying happy it's over with, sounds like a player that wanted out of Calgary.
Yeah, he's waiting for it. He was definitely waiting for that. I don't think there was any inkling of him staying in Calgary. I think he wanted a fresh start somewhere else, and going to Vancouver, you stay in a Canadian market, but a team that's doing really well. The other thing was Chris Tanev could have been included in this deal, but they wanted another first-round pick on top of everything else they've gotten, and Vancouver was like, no, we'll wait on that one. So, Tanev could have been off the market as well, but it looks like the Vancouver Canucks have targeted the Calgary Flames as their one-stop shop. They went and got Zadorov. They went and got Lindholm, looking at Tanev. I mean, what is Markstrom next? Who knows? I mean, to back up Demko or something. I know they got a good tandem there, but, they're basically old home week right now if you're on Tanev and Markstrom back. So, yeah, I mean, I look at the deal and I say, did Vancouver pay a little much? Maybe. But also they finally got the guy that they feel they needed to go where they need to go. And what do we always say about the Tampa Bay Lightning? When they find the guy they want, they address the need, they pay the price, and they get the guy. That's what they've done all the time. Didn't work out with Tanner Jeannot last year yet, but it has worked out in the past. So Vancouver ripping a page out of that book and getting the guys that they want in Zadorov and Mr. Lindholm.
Yeah, so this kind of reminds me in Vancouver's position a little bit like the Leafs last year.
Yep.
Where they went it's similar to how the Leafs got Ryan O'Reilly. Vancouver saw they wanted Lindholm. They went out and they did it. It's very similar deals. If I'm obviously the Leafs got O'Reilly and Achari, but kind of similar deals in that regard. And it makes me really wonder how much they really wanted to get Tanev as a part of the deal. According to Elliot Friedman, he didn't hear too much about Tanev being included in the deal, but he did say that Vancouver had thought about adding him. The issue was how much more would that have cost? Elliot Friedman made it seem like it would have been another first round pick. That's probably because there would have been some salary retention for Tanev to join the Canucks. But obviously the Canucks probably feel they still could make a deal for Tanev if they really want to. The real question here, obviously, we don't know for sure if Tanev is on his way out, but I have to think it's almost a foregone conclusion. He's going to get
if he was in the trade talks for the deal with Lindholm, that would tell me that he is out the door already. They're just looking for the quote unquote Craig Conroy price.
Yes.
And now we know what it is. It's a first round pick. They want a first round pick or the equivalent.
And again, Elliot Friedman, when it comes to the Leafs have Tanev on their list. They have every defenseman on their list. So
yeah, there seems to be a lot of circling around Tanev, though, whether it's Friedman, Johnston, you name it. Everybody keeps saying the Leafs are very connected to him. And also keep an eye on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Apparently, Brad Treliving, there's an account that put out a tweet about the Ryan O'Reilly, Noel Acciari stuff last year, foreshadowing the Leafs were talking to them about it. And then a few days later, that deal happened. They are now saying the same thing about a deal between the Leafs and the Blue Jackets, circling around a defenseman and a forward. So put your dots together who it might be. If we can swing ourselves a Boone Jenner, I'm all in.
Hey, if Boone Jenner is out there and available, I mean, first off, he's an all-star.
Yep.
So you'd be getting, and he was playing pretty well before he got injured. And we know Columbus, this has been a year to forget.
They're looking to move Provorov.
Right? They're looking to move quite a bit. Now, the question here is price. We know that Provorov was kind of a bit of a salary thrower but I mean, Columbus didn't view it that way. They were trying to get some good players.
Yep.
I really do question, is Provorov the right player? I mean, Boone Jenner, I think is. Yes. I don't think Provorov is. The Leafs need to get better defensively. And Provorov, maybe a few years ago I would have considered it. I just don't know if I would now.
No, I'm not interested, to be honest with you. Just not.
Yeah, so just keep an eye on it. I think you're starting to see teams are not waiting for trade deadline to do it, because if you don't take that deal now, you don't know what trade deadline is going to offer you. And guess what? You're going to be putting yourself in a situation where you miss out on getting that deal done, or you're getting the package you want, and then you're kind of feeling, your hands in your pockets, and you're like, we didn't see the deal we liked. We just took the deal that was available to us on the table. So
yeah, no, I think Calgary will get the price that they want, but I think the Leafs might get a little bit more out of Calgary. somebody else, maybe put in the deal as well. Or, maybe somebody going the other way salary-wise or more retention, something more will be done of it. I do think that they do get the guy they want in Tanev. I also do think that they're going to chase down a guy like Sean Walker or someone of that ilk that's good for the penalty kill and just add a little bit more juice and jam to the lineup. But, man, I'm jonesing for Monday to get here. I want to see some Leafs hockey again. It's been a long break, and the Leafs were kind of rolling when we left. So I want to see them get back on the train, man.
Exactly. And so I know, we'll see where that all happens. I think the good thing right now is the Leafs, the only pressure the Leafs have to get a deal done right now is potentially losing a guy that's being targeted, but they do have some time. They don't know. The trade deadline is not for a little bit. They have a little bit of time to think about it. And they will come back on Monday after the didn't really feel like much of an All-Star break because I know the Leafs have been off all week, but there was still hockey going on.
Yeah, you know what? I honestly, in our fantasy hockey league, shout out to the PWHL, I kind of forgot that there was games on Monday and Tuesday. I didn't even realize. And Monday, I was like, what? There's live hockey right now. And of course, I only have one guy going because there's not many teams playing. But still, I kind of shut off when the Leafs shut off, I guess. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah, I know exactly. So we just have to hope that the Leafs are able to get back to to some of the good they were doing for the left and maybe getting rid of some of the bad that was happening before then too. So we'll see how that all happens. And we'll break it all down here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. The next time we have an episode, we'll be previewing Monday's game against the New York Islanders, which I will be in attendance for.
Ooh.
Yep. So it'll be nice to get a first game back, and hopefully it's not a stinker. That's all I kind of hope for, but we'll see how that all comes about. We'll preview the game. We'll break down any of the storylines that come out of All-Star Weekend because we do know there's going to be some storylines. Oh, yeah. We'll break all that down here on the Locked On These podcasts. So make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure you also subscribe on YouTube, give a notification when a new video is posted. Make sure you go and follow my buddy James over at Offside Hockey Talk on X. He is putting out great content each and every day, keeping everybody engaged. So make sure you go out and do that. Make sure you follow myself at _Morassutti. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.